like not the space that we meet, but I'm so glad that I'm able to talk to you over here also. Just unifying on our collective understanding of iCubed also, and a little bit of history I would like to give about iCubed. Although it's only the fifth year of the fellowship program, and I believe the first year of iCubed in its full name, second year of iCubed in its full name, and third year of iCubed itself. Anjali will be able to give the exact number of years. Why we started iCubed in Bhumi Fellowship program, and when I joined, iCubed was happening as a second year project, right? And that being something mandatory for all the fellows, I found that to be quite unique when I joined fellowship, because there are a lot of other programs which give certain additional leadership opportunities as optional, and a fellow who wants to take it up can take it up. But by design, we have this as something that's mandatory to complete the fellowship. That also comes from the post fellowship vision that we hold for fellows, which is around building fellows as um, entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, or people who are actively contributing to social sector space. iCube journey is learning by doing of that. I get to create my own TOC. I get to imagine something that's like a mini organization running where the target audience is one or few schools only. That is the experience that we are giving to fellows, and that's a very major um, contribution of this comes in few months from now, when fellows are filling pre-work for different job opportunities, where they are asked to come up with TOC for a program that they're seeing, or a problem statement that they're seeing. That frame of reference to think comes a lot from iCube. That is the point of view for how it's beneficial to the fellows. How it's beneficial to the school is also, we know that fellows are at different capacity and enable things at a different level. In some fellows do teacher circle in the first quarter, some fellows take even till the third or fourth quarter to do their first teacher circle. And how iCubed as a mandatory structure pushes people to engage with multiple stakeholders, bringing the whole school transformation piece out alive. And here, the major motivator is also something the project is something the fellow cares about. So these are some unique points that we see a lot of value in, and that's why we are investing more in like branding it to be iCubed and creating a specific space for it in our fellowship page, or creating more visibility around this, because seeing this as a very important part of the fellows journey itself. I would like to invite the team, especially Anjali, Alex, Padma, who have seen fellows go through this journey and what transformation they've brought in. Maybe one or two lines, if you can share, that can be great also. Yeah.
I'll go in one line. If I had to say, what I have seen is it's a great platform to bring someone's interest into school transformation. Um, Two examples strongly that I always think about. One is, of course, Manasa and Parvati. Parvati has a criminology background. Manasa always strongly connected to SEL. How that transformed into wellness and safety across multiple schools stands out. And some of you might not know, like you might know of the project, but Gina took up a sports-based project with her school. She was actually a former athlete, and then she injured herself and, wasn't able to participate in any avenues. But somehow that kind of sparked her to take that up as a project, and now you have many other people taking it up. In fact, it's becoming a whole career pathway for her. So yeah, someone's interest into school transformation, I think it's a great platform. Padma?
I see it as a platform for to get your hands dirty, to hands-on try things out and learn from that process. I've seen fellows overcome inhibitions, overcome things that they hold themselves back. Like a fellow may not be would not have been very strong in persuading stakeholders towards a common goal initially when they started off, but their project drives them to do that. So that kind of uh, you know putting yourself out there for the cause that you believe in, for the problem statement that you've taken up, and doing whatever it takes to drive that. It's a great, I think that's like a skill for life, and you get to try that out in the project. Alex.
Thanks, Padma. Yeah, I hope I'm audible. So for me, I think I'll also be flipping the side a bit. I've been hearing about fellows, but for me, or the journey itself has been very enriching. Coming from someone who do not know what is project management, or I had very less knowledge of what even a TOC means, the journey was really enriching for me also. I think it helps you to also manage projects that you take up. And one thing is the beauty of growth. First year, I know a lot of struggles we have with fellows, but second year, you see a different phase of everyone, especially the project, the investment that you saw. No, you may think, okay, what year one was been challenging with many of them, but in the year two, you see a different way, and the ownership that they hold it, it is very inspiring. And why not? It even have potential to be an entrepreneur, or even that being turning up to different things. No, I think that's the beauty of it. So it's a worth journey for both the PM and the fellow. It's not just the fellows, but also we also learn from lot because we give some input. Sometimes that also can go either ways, right? So that is for me a journey for me in this iCubed, and it's really a beautiful journey.
Answer, anything else you would like to add on?
I think from my end, yeah, just over to Mawa here. Thank you, Mawa, for giving the opportunity to talk about IQ.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. That was really helpful. I'm going to pass it on to Anjali because it's her turn, but I'm just going to share my screen as well. One
Yeah,
second.
while Mahua is sharing her screen, I would like to ask everyone to check in with. I'm sure in our lifetime, at least once you would have thought, oh my God, I want to start off this one thing, right? For me, my lifelong dream has been one day I'm going to open a cafe. It's going to have a Kuti library attached to it. Um, I don't know if it'll happen or not, but something I definitely would want to try out at least once in my life. So I'm curious if people here, if you have ever had any aspirations like that, and if yes, what would your dream startup venture be? Sound there's the party hub.
Join Anjali as a join Anjali as a tea master.
Yes, it would feature ginger tea very heavily, for sure.
Yeah, I'll share. I have a similar dream of what Anjali have shared, but not a tea stall, but a farmhouse where a lot of people comes. It's not very new. A lot of people are doing it, but specifically for people to come explore things. Yeah, mainly around education, development, and everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Suhail. Would love to see that one day. Others? Mansa is saying money making YouTube influencer basically on YouTube.
No, but faceless. Like my face won't be there. Secret channel that I'm running on the side. Yeah.
Oh, very interesting.
I don't
Okay.
want to be famous. My channel should be famous.
Nice. A lot of food related dreams over here. Cloud kitchen. Grab the crab. What is grab the crab, Divya? Is this like an experiential thing? Whatever you fish, you
Yeah, it's more towards, I mean, an experiential eatery outlet. I always wanted to have one in Karwar, Goa border.
wow.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. School, awesome. Padma is saying school. Mahua is saying pottery studio. Nice. We'll keep that energy going because today is also going to be a lot around some ideas. How do you kind of develop that into something more concrete, right? But not a complete solution. Today is going to be all about pilots, like the title of the calendar invite. We'll go ahead. And we'll keep this thought in the back of our minds. We'll come back to this again in the session. We already talked a little bit about why iCubed. We're going to do a very small warm-up where Mahua, I hope the video is ready. Mahua will play a short video about 3.5 minutes. After that, we are just going to exercise our brains a little bit like a warm-up. This is going to be an extension of the previous session, basically, right? Where we talk about problems a little bit. Then we'll talk a little bit about principles of pilot and a pilot in the context of the Bhumi Fellowship itself. From there, we'll just look at some examples and case studies. So we're all aligned on one, the language and what is a pilot and what isn't a pilot, mainly these two aspects. Okay, with that, Mahua, I think you can play the video.
I hope you will be able to hear. Let me just play it. Anything or not yet? Okay, 1 second.
Not sure if you're sharing audio. I think you'll have to stop and then yeah.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yes. I'll tell you when to pause.
Yes. Sorry, I muted myself.
You can pause here. Right. So, what did we all just see? Anyone can go. Yeah. Also, thinking from the perspective of problem identification specifically, but yeah, what did you all just see? Actual, yes, penguin with a muffler for sure.
I'll go. I think I noticed the polar bear was too fixated on his idea of fishing with only the rod and not trying other tools that is around him. And yeah, he was trying with the rod the entire time, and it was towards the end when the video paused, it was the penguin trying to show him other tools also that he has and he should explore. Also, okay, I'll leave something for others also to share.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Uh, what was the real problem though? Like Ruby talked about polar bears' mindsets and uh, sense in that moment, but what was the real problem?
I think the real problem is the rogue behavior of the penguin with muffler. Because that,
The real problem, yes, go on.
yeah, maybe because I see that penguin particularly stealing fish from other penguins and also that sea lion, I think. So maybe this is the penguin which is also stopping that fishing. I thought it's a dog, never realized it's a bear.
Yeah. Fair. So now we have two different problems. One is mindset of the polar bear. One is Ruby saying not being able to fish. Then Soundar is talking about the muffler penguin being selfish and taking the fish for itself. Anything else?
Yeah, I don't know what's a crazy thing. Only fishing at one point, not moving to some other either because the person was only fishing at one side. I also observed the penguin coming, taking fish from some other side also. Maybe also trying out different.
Awesome.
Not collaborating. If it is working out for that penguin, maybe asking how are you doing it and maybe making changes with that.
Collaboration between penguins, you mean? Or between the polar bear and the
Or
penguins?
anyone who's trying to fish, he's clearly mastering it. So how he's doing it. So yeah, if not being able to fish is the problem, and if someone is able to do it, why not collaborate and seek more ideas? See how it can work out for everyone over there.
Great. Okay. So, hey, Padma, anything you want to add? Seeing Divya has also shared, following just one approach. Okay, that's polar bear perspective. Polar bear has not caught any fish. Okay, that is definitely a problem. I'll wait for Suhail also and then we'll go ahead.
I was thinking about the other two penguins. Why they don't have that skill sets that muffled penguin is having. Why they are going so slow. I was thinking about them.
Awesome, very interesting perspective. The whole point of this exercise was not to arrive at any solutions, but open our mind to all the problems. And what's also going to happen is one school ecosystem fellow is probably going to come with all of these different aspects, but also how to kind of direct their thinking into identifying one problem statement that they want to solve for. Here, for example, they could solve for collaboration between the penguins, or they could solve for the skill issue of the two penguins. I don't know, maybe muffler or how to swim faster. Or maybe like polar bears mindsets, right? Or skill again, like how to fish. Like, can I teach this person how to fish and then they can fish for themselves? Basically, the whole principle. You should watch the entire video. I'll share the link later. It'll give you a good laugh if nothing else. Yeah. Okay, with that, we'll go into the actual part of the session, which is pilots in itself. Mahua, if you can share screen, please. Right. So a lot of today will be self-explanatory. I will try to keep my speaking time to minimum and also invite all of you to share from your perspectives and experiences as well. Yeah. One thing why we are also starting with these words is because many times these words get used very interchangeably. Like sometimes people might be talking about project, but they're actually talking about a pilot. They might be talking about a pilot, but it's actually proof of concept that is the intention. So we're just going to align on the language that we are going to use when it comes to these terminology. I'm just going to ask someone to read like each one. Divya, if you could read POC, which is proof of concept, what's on the slide?
Yeah. A small test to see if an idea can actually work in the real world, showing if a product or system is possible.
Great, thank you. Manasa, the second one, prototype.
Yes. Tangible. I'm sorry, I'm zooming in. Tangible. I'm so sorry. It zoomed into a like crazy. Tangible version of an idea tested early on to understand how it looks and works, focusing on involving stakeholders and improving the concept. Prototype.
Great. Alex, third one.
Okay. Pilot, trying out a new product or service with a small group of real users to find and problems before rolling it out.
Find and fix problems before rolling it out widely. Awesome. Sound the last one.
Minimum viable product, testing the essential parts of a solution with real users, using minimal resources to learn quickly and get feedback on what works and what needs.
Just pick up an example from what we put in our check-in. Actually, many of us had food-related ambitions, right? So let's take a restaurant in general, okay? And because we have somebody who's vegan in the group, I'm going to pick vegan restaurant because that's very specific and very niche, right? So proof of concept, what could it look like for this hypothetical vegan restaurant that we want to come up with? Any thoughts? I mean, all responses welcome. More engagement, the better.
I think this
Maybe
Saravana
doing
Bhavan, Vasanta Bhavan study on these restaurants, where are they placing those restaurants and what kind of dishes they are offering.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Suhail?
Yeah, I was thinking that the place where they are going to have that restaurant, what are the kind of demography that place is having, what are the eating practices of people, understanding that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Pretty much spot on. Just studies, right? It could be market research, understanding the population. Do people actually are they in for vegan food or not? Divya, anything you want to add?
Yeah, very similar to what you said, Anjali. So maybe making a small quantity and taking it to a target group, and then maybe making them experience and collecting maybe the feedback also on pricing, taste, and things.
Which is where the prototyping would come in, probably. Because let's say you have this amazing vegan dish idea, right? Let's take hummus, for example. Hummus is the only vegan thing that's coming to my mind right now. Let's say you make one portion of hummus and then you try it out with the people in your family or in your apartment. Um, you're just getting some real-time feedback. You've done your market research. You've researched where your Sarvana Bhavans are, who the people are who go to these, who would be in for a vegan restaurant, and then you try to come up with a dish on your own basically and get some real-time feedback. Very very small scale. Right. So just coming to the actual pilot itself, what would a pilot look like in this case? Let's say you have a dish you want to make now, you've done your research, you know your restaurant is going to be set up in a particular area. what could the actual pilot look like? 3 samples of. Okay. For the prototype or for the pilot, Ruby?
Prototype, I'm thinking more from a perspective of a dish. If I want to sell it out in a particular area, I would want to first make mini versions of it and try it out with people, give them as free samples. I've seen that happening in grocery stores, mostly somewhere in malls also. Collect feedback how it is, if they are coming back second time or not. Maybe I'm thinking from a one dish perspective if I want to sell this dish itself.
Awesome. So if you're going from one dish perspective, then definitely prototype that would fall into. So then how is the pilot different from this prototype?
So after collecting the feedback, if I could incorporate them and then start a like small shack kind of thing and start selling it in the area where I had the most positive responses, maybe that would be a pilot. A small shack, less investment as I can do, and see if it is actually working out in real life or not, and then see how much I've sold, if it is able to sustain the shack with this much cost, like do an evaluation. That might look like a pilot.
Awesome. Yes, I think Padma and Suhail have also put similar stuff. Participating in a food fest. Only thing is, food fest might also require you to put money in from your end, so the expense might be a little higher, but fair enough. I mean, I'd say pilot definitely. Food fest is a great avenue. Manasa, I'm not sure about the false advertising, but which part are you sharing this for? Like proof
This
of concept, prototype.
after I've arrived at what is going to be served at the restaurant, to maybe check out the pricing, if the pricing is going to be okay. Like, say, if I set it at this price, are people willing to pay? Or even to decide what price I should set. Maybe I think it will come more at the prototype level, not probably at the pilot level. But trying to decide, and if I say people pay what you can, then I'll get some input around, oh, okay, maybe this is how much people are willing to pay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, pay how much you can is a great idea. Probably combine it with Ruby's shack idea, and you would have probably a range of dishes you're getting feedback on, and the number that you're reaching out to is higher than the one couple or your immediate friends and family. Awesome. Which leads us to minimum viable product. So, for this hypothetical vegan restaurant, what could the minimum viable product look like? Or have we already covered it?
I think having a menu in place, a basic menu of what the place that we start with, knowing the recipes for that, having the cost and the pricing figured out for that will be a minimum viable product, I think. I don't know if the space feature would also, where is this going to happen? What will the space look like? I'm not sure if that should also be part of MVP. Because when we talk about a restaurant, it's not just the product, right? It's the space also.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it could also look like a cloud kitchen with the exact menu that you're going to do in that particular region before you actually decide that, okay, I'm going to invest all my money um, in renting out a space, right? For that particular point. Fair enough. Ruby, yes, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, so it's written in a chronological manner. Is it written in a chronological manner? That's the first question. Second, do we have to follow exactly the way it's going? Because sometimes it might happen that one or the two can happen before and after.
Awesome.
Like this
So,
feedback thing of MVP, I can collect it after the prototype also. For the prototype also, and for pilot after pilot also. So just a question.
right. Great question. I'll also ask the others to add on. So one aspect is definitely it is iterative, right? Like while you fix on some parts of your solution as you go through the process, other parts might still be in, let's say, proof of concept or prototyping phase. So there might be a lot of back and forth that is happening for you. Let's say you found your demographic, you know you want to do this, prices are working out, but you haven't finalized your menu yet. So you go back, you test out a new few dishes, and then you come back again and think, now, okay, I'll finalize it. Second, it also depends on what you're looking for feedback on. At each phase, the aspects on which you're seeking feedback would probably vary a bit, right? Maybe in proof of concept, idea itself, you're trying to figure out, is this a viable idea? Like, does it make sense to even take this forward from here? What is the market telling me, right? Whereas in prototype, you've solidified your idea. Like, okay, I know this is something I want to take forward. Now, can I get like a very small scale test? And whichever part of my idea I'm testing, can I get some feedback on that? So I think that would be the biggest difference, but definitely not a very linear process. Anything to add on? Like, do others want to share their perspectives on this?
Sometimes there are also parts of it. For example, what Padma mentioned, right? Like we have tested out the menu with the minimum viable product. We have opened the restaurant. But for restaurant, again, maybe we have to do the space, how it is, how should the table be at the restaurant? Should it be self-service or people should come and waiters should pick order? All these are again things that we can, like prototype, pilot in the space that we have again. So maybe different parts of the project can also evolve. Like some things can be at a proof of concept level, some things already at MVP level. That's also one thing that I see happening. Yeah.
Any other questions or thoughts? Mahua, meanwhile, we can go to the next slide. So we also see a different example. This is from the automobile industry, an example that's there. On the left-hand slide, proof of concept is just an artist render. It's just a drawing, right? Again, drawing's not easy. Takes a lot of time and effort to render a car like that. But compared to building an actual car, still very quick and easy. And it's just at idea level how it looks. Prototype could be building one single unit with some aspects missing. Maybe your the seating configuration hasn't been figured out fully. Your engine is still a work in progress. You're just maybe looking at a physical build of it. And then in the pilot, you probably do it very small test group. Yeah, is my engine working okay? Is the ground clearance okay? Is just the last final things that need to be fine-tuned before you roll it out in the market. And some manufacturers have failed at this. Like after rolling it out in the market, they've realized that, okay, this one part doesn't work, and they've called the car back also. Toyota did this a couple of years back with the Innova, and yeah, I think thousands of Innovas that had to be sent back in, which they fixed and then sent newer versions out, which means somewhere in the prototyping phase or the piloting phase, they have not figured out prior to. Yes, thank you, Sundar. Any other questions or thoughts? If not, we'll move on. Yes, Suhail.
Anjali, I have a question. So, in the perspective of doing an IQ project, how do we differentiate pilot and prototype there?
Awesome. We can go to the next slide then, Mahua. Right. So if you look at the journey itself, this is a 15-month journey, correct? And nowhere in the 15-month journey are we saying that a fellow will arrive at a complete solution. That is the first thing to keep in mind. In the next 2.5 months, firstly, we're going to be focusing solely on the problem statement, which is where the proof of concept comes. Like, hey, I have these ideas, I'm making all these observations. What am I attracted towards? What can work in the context that I'm in, right? If not in my context, in other school contexts, what can work? So that is the first part of it. The pilot, which we're calling pilot itself, is like they test out multiple activities in a very short period of time, right? So, for example, if somebody is attracted towards parent, increasing parental support at home, maybe they do a series of interventions in 1.5, 2 months to understand what is working, what's not, how are parents responding to this. And whatever they do, once they figure out their solution, that will be the prototype phase. Because once again, this is not going to be perfect, right? Like a lot of things change in school ecosystem. The solution itself might go through a lot of phases based on inputs from mentors, PMs, other peers. So yeah, the actual iCubed project that they will do in the second year, the whole thing can be considered a prototype. And the final version will be the future of iCubed projects, basically. Whatever this prototype evolves into post-fellowship, whether that's an organization, a product, curriculum, whatever form it turns into, that would be the completed solution. Of course, that might also take a couple of years, not going to say overnight, as soon as they graduate, it will happen. But this is how we are looking at it right now. And can share some examples also. We have some case studies that we've prepared. Does that answer your question, Suhail?
Yeah, thanks.
Anjali, I was also thinking this problem statement and Bhumi Fellows pilot is an assumption that it has already happened for first years, is it? Or it can happen after this also.
We're going to be starting off now. Like we're starting with them working on problem statement in the next 1.5, 2 months. After which they will pilot, hopefully before the end of the academic year. Like that should be what we push them to do. Some cases it might extend timeline stretch here and there, but ideally pilot by the end of the academic year so they can develop their prototype, the LFA, theory of change, whatever we call it, in the summer break, and then come back and start with the prototype. Not started yet. Maybe some fellows have an idea of what they want to do. I'm sure there are fellows out there. So for them, that process could have started already.
Got it.
I'll pause for 30 more seconds, and if there's no questions, then we'll go ahead. How are we doing with time, Mama?
Think we should be okay.
We should be okay. Okay, great. Okay, since
Anjali,
there's
I
no
was trying to understand this that figure that is given there. What is MVP?
minimum viable product, which is basically what happens after your pilot, basically.
Okay, got it.
I'm sorry, my bad. If you can go back, next one. Yeah. Sorry, I think I caused the confusion. So prototype would be the BF pilot, what we're calling it, would be the prototype according to this terminology. And iCubed itself would be your, yes, somebody please help me.
Pilot.
Pilot, yes. So that would be the pilot in this case, and anything that happens after that would be your final solution. But before that, of course, there would be a minimum viable product that comes in. Yeah, so MVP final solution, we're not expecting in the 15-month journey as of now. Yeah, my bad, Suhail, I confused you.
So Anjali, problem statement and the prototype, these are the two things that we will target before this academic year closes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
got it.
If you have to think of it from the perspective of design thinking, you're empathizing with the users, basically, understanding their challenges, what their expectations are, what their needs are. And then you're trying to define, which is the problem statement, like what is that one problem that I want to work on? And then, of course, you're testing it out. Yeah. Okay, we can go ahead. Yes, Soundar, if you want to ask.
I don't know whether this question can be placed in this situation, but I was also thinking from the user perspective, since you mentioned user perspective now. Like IQ project is started in a school and the fellow will be there for 15 months. And the future of IQ project can be in that school or far be that community, or it can be somewhere else. How would it look from an user perspective? Like the future of iCubed is not there if the fellow chooses to move away.
Right. Alex, Padma, do one of you want to take this?
I can get started. One thing is also through the IQ we are trying is to sustainability within the system or within the school is something which we usually drive in the last 3-4 months. For example, I can quote Gina's example. I'll give two examples. Gina's example is specifically uh, ensuring that the MOU signed with the partner organization, the sports organization, is sustained even the next year. The sports meet happening in the school over and ever. Even Surya's, for example, even though the fellow is not there, the co-fellows or someone has taken election as a repeat of it. That is one possibility. Building sustainability through the stakeholder itself on how this can happen over years and years. Second thing is what future, I can quote the example of the Bojit, right, Anjali, like where he expanded his to the Bhumi Echo Champs team, where the impact is right now 22 schools. So his curriculum that he developed for Seeds of Hope is now within Bhumi system. It's also sustained in some schools, but moreover, he has started out with 22 different schools right now. I just called him now to see how many schools he's working on. So he said his curriculum has been implemented in 22 schools. But during the pilot phase, the BF pilot phase, it was just 3 schools. But the iCubed was just for 3 schools, but the MVP, what we call here, is now for 22 schools. Impact is become more. So I hope that clarifies. So it's a two-phase things. Either it can be sustainable within the system or beyond a larger system. Anjali, Padma, you can.
Yeah, I think the push from our end is for fellows to pick up projects that are aligned with school transformation so that the school stakeholders are also invested in the project and somebody in the school takes up the project and continues it to give to take on that project in the school. Towards the end, like Alex mentioned, we urge fellows to start thinking about how will this project sustain in the school if you are not there. But there are like definitely practical challenges to it. To give an example, Shreyas from the 2021 cohort had started a parent leader council as a project where parents have a voice in the school. So it's a private school, so there's no SMC. So as an alternate to that, he created parent leader council and he oriented another teacher to take it up and continue it in the next year. He also did some hand holding for those teachers, for that teacher in the initial month to ensure that parent leader council continues. Election was conducted, parent leaders were elected, but after that, the school did not carry it forward. It kind of fizzled out. So those challenges are there. But I think we have to operate from that lens of how can this project get absorbed into the school eventually. I personally feel the primary intent of iCubed is for the fellow to develop project skills, entrepreneurial skills, for the fellow to try something, learn, and take on that experience into their career, like what Gina or the Bujit have done. If they can also make the project sustain in the school through stakeholders, that will be like a very big plus in addition to what the fellow is getting.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think sustainability length, the only thing I'll disagree from what Alex and Padma shared is like not at the end of the fellowship. I think from day one, if that thought is there, then the likelihood of project getting sustainable probably higher, right? If it's not thought of from the beginning, no chance that suddenly it will happen at the end. But definitely fellow at the as the biggest recipient of this entire process. Like I think the skills they learn invaluable, I think. Yes, definitely. Manasa has also added on chat, like what it means to fellows, school, sector, geography. Sometimes fellows themselves don't feel, if they don't feel so strongly about it, then of course that will impact the quality of the solution that comes in. And then that trickles down into stakeholder investment, all of that, right? Um, yeah. Yeah, we'll keep this conversation going. And if you have any other questions, we'll take it as it comes up. I'm gonna go ahead in the interest of time. I think we've covered most of this. Some points that we haven't talked about, I'll highlight here. Alignment with objectives. One is, of course, school transformation, as Padma shared, right? It has to be a school transformation project. If somebody wants to do a project that is rooted in community, great. Probably won't be eligible for the iCubed seed fund, the pitch that happens in the middle of the year, because the focus is on school transformation projects. But we can always support them with writing for grants, external grants, funding, all of that. Another thing when it comes to alignment is sometimes fellows start with one problem statement. They'll say, okay, this one specific problem statement I want to quote. The problem statement was students struggle to think out of box when they are given a situation, you know. But the project focused on addressing communication skills and confidence of students, which means there was no pilot that happened for this project, right? Directly from problem statement, it went into the your I am confusing all the words in my head right now. Amazing. Into your pilot. Yes, pilot
Project
phase.
stage. There was no pilot. The problem statement directly went into a project stage.
Correct. So no pilot happened directly, the project, right? Theory of change and iCubed project. Yeah. If there was a pilot done, probably we would have identified in the pilot phase itself that this person's project has no connection to the problem statement that they have chosen. And we could have course corrected and either revised the solution itself or completely looked at a different problem statement because there was no alignment that was happening. Other thing is, of course, identifying some key stakeholders. I think with whole school transformation, what also happens is tendency to look at all stakeholders and design solutions for all of them. But this poses practical challenges based on the timelines that we have available to us. So realistically, they'll get about 8 to 9 months of implementation, and then you have your holidays, your annual days, your tiruviras, all of that happen, which greatly impacts the implementation time. So even if they work with one or two stakeholders max and do it really well, then that is probably the foundation for a very deep intervention as opposed to a surface level intervention. And yeah, all of this, a pilot helps mitigate basically. You'll be able to understand. If you can't pilot your solutions with all stakeholders, definitely you can't implement a whole project with all of them. And your risks would also reduce in the process.
Actually, when you started saying this, you said something is not eligible for the seed fund pitch, right? What was that? Can you please repeat? I missed that part.
Right. School transformation projects, basically, that's the focus for iCubed overall. If somebody has a strong alignment with community or livelihoods, for example, then that's a whole other domain altogether. iCubed seed fund pitch will be revised. Eligibility criteria will be set. So projects that do not fall under the domain of school transformation may not be eligible for Bhumi funding, basically. But as a program team, we can always open up external opportunities for them and see what other avenues are available outside the ecosystem as well.
Even community related projects will not be eligible for seed fund pitch, Anjali.
When you say community related project, it also depends what we mean by it. Like, is the community project having an impact on the school and the students at all? Right?
Yeah, so if yes, then it is eligible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The intention is also to stay away from projects, like bringing focus to the projects that we are bringing in to the school, the projects that have livelihoods or which have this community related projects that are not directly linked to education, have a long shot in influencing education. So that's one aspect. And the other one is the kind of mentoring that it requires is completely different from probably the mentoring that we are able to provide at this point. So these are also some of the gaps that have come up while observing different projects that fellows come up with. So just wanted to share that.
So, Manasa, when we are saying that the projects which are not directly related to education, so in the initial conversations with the fellows itself that we have to bring it up, right?
I would say initial conversations, let them have some freedom because they are also understanding what interests them, what problems they would like to solve for. Maybe in the pilot phase, I think that's a good time to get a sense of what's actually happening and is that something they really want to continue working on, or do they want to come back a little closer to education as a domain. I would say when ideating brainstorming is happening, I would say not putting any restrictions at that point in time because then your creativity shuts off a little bit. And you never know. Maybe I know Manasa said there's a long shot, but who knows? Maybe one fellow might have that capacity to go on and come up with an amazing social enterprise or a product or something, right? Not related to education. So why discourage them from testing that out in this context? Okay, funding they can apply externally, no problem.
Mahua, one question to you. Dan Utsav is also encouraged for the fellows. Can you elaborate a little bit how Dan Utsav can be a 15-month project?
No, no, so Dan Utsav is like it's like a funding sort of space. Like it's kind of like a festival, you can say, where a lot of philanthropists sort of come together, and then people can pitch their ideas to these philanthropists to get funding. So it's a yearly thing. It happened last year as well, and people who like fellows who did not get selected for like iCubed funding were encouraged to also look at Danutsav opportunities and sort of reach out to those philanthropists and those organizations. So it's kind of like a organizations, philanthropists come together to fund these sort of projects.
Yeah, which also means they need to pilot because if they have a strong pilot that they can show outcomes for, then that would make their pitch all the more stronger. Anything else to hear?
No, thank you, Mahua. I was thinking that Danutsav is also encouraged for fellows. I was thinking Danutsav as a project domain. Yeah, that's why that confusion came. Yeah, clear. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and look at some examples. Right, before the examples, just iterating the features of a pilot, especially in the fellowship context. Focus on doing, right? I think the 2024 cohort have already started off strong. They've already engaged with multiple stakeholders and started small interventions on their own. Some have come up with reading corners, some SEL based interventions. So rather than intellectually thinking through a lot of things, just doing, getting hands dirty, like Padma shared earlier. And not something that's quick, long drawn, and has a lot of dependencies in place, something that can be tried out. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. You can give up on it and try out something completely different, right? So a lot of creativity that comes into the process. And the more things you can test out, the stronger your actual solution will probably be when you launch the full-blown iCubed project. Which means very important that in the next 2 months, they spend a lot of time listening to the stakeholders, engaging in conversations with them, doing needs assessments if required, right? Just without any judgment, gather as much information as possible. And once they have that information, test it out with a stratified sample. So you basically pick a section of stakeholders, you decide your demographic, and then you test it out with a sample, right? Doesn't mean that, okay, if I'm going to do, let's say parent engagement, just for an example, it doesn't mean everyone in the school needs to show up. You can probably pick a group of parents, about 10, 20, and test out something small with them, and maybe a couple of different options in addition to that. Yeah. I think we'll go ahead, look at the examples. So I'll share instructions first. While the slide is on here, slides keep getting added. In the interest of time, we'll go ahead because I think we've covered most of this. We've talked about it being quick, inexpensive, reducing risks. So we're going to look at some examples of just examples of interventions. So the problem statement and the intervention will be there. And from the 3 options that are given, you are going to have to identify which is a good example of the pilot. Okay. So we'll take 1 minute of reading time. And just to make it fair, after the reading time, you will put your responses on chat. Okay. So everyone gets to think for at least 1 minute. Can I get any reaction if you're okay with this? And Alex, Padma, since you've seen the slides before, you cannot respond. Maho also. Awesome. Okay, so first one, we can go ahead. 1 minute reading time. Problem statement here is students lack awareness on environment sustainability and practices they can adopt to help protect the environment. You can read the options yourself. Okay, 10 more seconds to read. All right, is everyone done reading? You can again drop a reaction if you're good. Okay, on the count of 3 on chat, you can put down which is the good example of a pilot. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, wow. We're getting 3 A's and 1 C. Can one person who said A share Y and one person who said C say Y? Ruby, do you want to go pitch for your
Yeah.
option?
I'll share my point of view, why I chose A. I thought for a pilot, hands-on activity or doing it yourself would be a better idea. Like getting your hands dirty, basically. Do learn and then apply again. And this A fitted it very well. Not C right now, but definitely after the piloting stage when I have gotten feedback, I have made changes to the pilot plan, then maybe I'll do C for the next, like for the actual project. But for the pilot, I felt A was better because, sorry, students got a chance to do it themselves. And also a lot of conversations around it, observations around it, sharing thoughts, awareness, all of it.
Awesome. Thank you. Divya, Sandhya, do one of you want to share why C?
So I was thinking between A and C, but I thought even C can be like an one-off instance of trying something on a serious way. Like A looks like very one-off. It can be maybe some 2 3 days, and then again not involving the whole school, like just 10 students. That is the reason I thought C will be better than A.
Okay, interesting. Anything to add, Divya?
Yeah, very
Suhail?
similar thoughts to what Sound shared. I was also thinking of the viability. I felt MNC has more viability. Maybe partnering with some external organizations where we get that expertise also, right, with respect to recycling. I think that kind of made me go more towards it, and also involving more of the school stakeholders. Yeah.
I
Suhail?
will share. Yeah. I was thinking A because for a 15-month project, 3 months pilot seems a little bit longer period. And in the A, what I found is it's more involvement of students are more there, and external interventions are less. So the chances of sustainability is more and students taking it is more. So that's the reason why I chose A instead of C or B.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everyone. You can do a drum roll wherever you are, and Mahua, you can go to the next slide. So the actual response is A over here. And why A? Because if you go back to the principles of a pilot, it also talks about taking a stratified sample, right? It's not necessary to involve all stakeholders in whatever pilot you're um, doing. Idea is to test out multiple options in a very small period of time without much cost involved. So if you have an external organization and it's an extensive plan, then you'll also feel that pressure to achieve some outcomes by doing all of that, right? The pilot, the main goal is to learn from it. And yeah, that's what it says over here. It's quick, creative, observe how children are responding. Once you have that in place, you can design your solution around it. Pretty much what Ruby shared earlier. Divya, Soundar, I hope that clarifies.
Only one question with respect to time frame that I have for a pilot if somebody is going to do. My understanding is that a pilot can be ranging from some weeks to even some months, right? But is there a specific timeline that we have for, iCubed pilots?
Tough to set it in stone and say this would completely depend on the nature of the project. But if it's a few months long, like Suhail shared, I think that's too long considering it's only 15 months time that we have, right? I wouldn't encourage more than a few weeks, to be honest. Even 1 month, 1.5 months is good for a pilot. If it's only a few days they can do and multiple aspects that they can cover, that's also great. Manasa, you want to add anything else? I did see you unmute.
Yes, I added it on chat.
Okay. Testing awareness was a part of it. Awesome.
Towards
Yes.
the end. Yeah.
The problem statement talked about children lacking awareness. So the solution was testing awareness. Yeah. As you can see, the alignment between problem statement and the actual pilot that was conducted. Thank you for pointing that out, Manasa. We can go ahead. We'll do this one more time and then 2 more times after that. Okay. A 1 minute reading time go. Problem statement here is teachers experience high levels of burnout and stress due to heavy workloads and limited access to mental health resources and support systems. You can read the options yourself. Okay, 10 seconds more to wrap up reading, and you can drop an emoji if you're done. We'll wait for Divya also. Okay. On the count of 3 again. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Someone who did, I think everyone shared last time. Ruby, again, do you want to share why C? And then maybe Suhail, you can talk about why B.
I didn't choose B because it was just limited to 3 teachers, and I thought C would be a better idea of piloting because it's 5 workshops. Since teachers are already stressed out, they'll have the flexibility to choose which one they want to, and for how many workshops they want to attend. And also, a lot of feedback and experiences were also involved. And it's 5 weeks, decentish time enough to for a pilot. I chose C and not B.
However, week-long teacher wellness hour is also 5 days, basically. The number of days is still the same in both instances. Just wanted to point that out. Like the number of teachers are different, like you shared, but it's saying week-long teacher hours. So that number of days is same actually in both.
Yes, but with a longer time span. So if teachers can find it useful in the first couple of workshops, they'll be happy to join, make others also come and join. And if they have any feedback, they can give across first 2 workshop only, and then they can incorporate also and take these learnings for the actual project as well. So the spread of it, like how it was spread across 5 weeks or something, I felt it was more.
Great. Suhail, you want to share for B?
Yeah. I'll share why not A and C first, then I'll go to the second question. Distributing the pamphlet alone will not maybe work on the stress management for teachers because it's more oriented on the teachers itself. Teachers will have to read it and ensure that fellow have to ensure that the teachers are reading it, send reminders. So I think it will increase the workload that they are already having. And why not C is again workshops. When we talk about workshops, it's again stress for the teachers. Teachers are not much interested to go for the workshops and all. And it's a 5 long week, which need lot of consistency on that. And the fellow also need to work a lot on designing the workshop for only for that purpose of doing this. And why B is there is lot of it's in the first part there was only pamphlet and the second part there was only workshop. But in this thing there are multiple activities that the fellows are giving for the teachers, including yoga, meditation, guided relaxation activities. So teachers can think and see what are possible, what are helping for them and what are not helping for them. And the size of pilot is also small. They're working with 3 teachers. So the fellow will be able to understand a lot about how the reflections are coming from the teachers. And also that follow-up is happening or the through debriefs and check on that thing is also happening. Yeah, that's why I choose B.
Awesome, thank you. And with that, we can actually reveal it. Mahua, next slide, please. Yes, spot on, Suhail. There's multiple activities. It's quick, small group of teachers, especially in a high-strength school, very difficult to bring all teachers together, right? So starting small and then seeing how it can be scaled to all teachers, great. Also, stress and burnout, they're addressing through the activities again, just like the other example. By doing this activity, is your stress getting managed? Are you able to feel relaxed at the end of the day? If the response is yes, then maybe you can focus on creating the mental health resources that was also talked about in the problem statement. We're going to speed up a little bit. We'll go ahead. Next one, Mahua. Okay, students lack effective communication skills, hindering their ability to express ideas clearly, collaborate with peers, and engage in meaningful discussions both in and outside the classroom. We'll take silent reading time and then drop an emoji when done. Okay, I'm seeing two emojis. Others, are we done? Okay, on the count of three again. 3, 2, 1, go. Ruby, this is cheating though.
I pressed shift instead of enter. It's A.
Are you sure you didn't delete and then?
It's not working.
Divya, do you want to talk about why A over here, like very briefly?
Yeah, very similar to the previous example, a small sample size across different grades, a less number of days also. And also, I think having a different variety of activities will also help us understand the interest and the participation. I think, yeah.
Awesome. And if anyone has any other thoughts, please do share it on chat. Thank you for that, Divya. Pretty much spot on. We can go ahead. Yes. So options are there, outputs you're able to check for, and you're able to get feedback from a range of participants, right? We have one last case study, I think, in the pop quiz. Okay. Students don't have space to interact with nature and self to understand its contribution to their lives. You know the drill by now. You can drop an emoji when you're done. Okay, I'm seeing a few thumbs ups. I will wait for the others. I see your tick, Mansa. I mean, waiting for the others. Sound the Divya Suhail. Do you need a minute more? Okay, Divya is done.
Yes, need a minute more.
Okay. But in the interest of time, Suhail, I'm gonna have to ask everyone. I can only count till 3. Until then, I hope you'll be done. I'll count to 3 and then please put your responses on chat. 3, 2, 1, go. Suhail said you needed a minute more, but you were the first one to put response on chat. Okay, we're seeing a couple of different responses. Soundar, you want to share why A very quickly, and we'll take one person who's saying C.
Very quickly is it has multiple engagement activities, and it also has reflecting on what is the impact and sharing insights.
Okay, great. Somebody who said C, Divya or Suhail, one of you. Are you both waiting for the other person to unmute?
Yeah, I'll share. So the reason why I selected, I was confused between B and C. Then I selected C. The reason why it's more of understanding what the students know actually and how they are engaging with the different activities. There are 2-3 activities, and the fellow will get enough time to understand how the students are engaging, and they are also sharing their experience with the teachers for future activities. So that's why I selected C.
Sure. Nature trail is one activity though. It's like one whole activity. In that activity, they are exploring the campus, identifying plants. That's just one clarification from my end. Ruby is the only one who said B. Is it Ruby? Quickly, do you want to go?
Only reason I chose B was I felt with A it was 3 schools, and for a pilot I felt it was too much work. Maybe they can start on a smaller scale for pilot. Maybe one school they can do this, and then come back with learning. Hence, I chose B.
Why not C then? Because C is also in one school.
One-time nature trail it mentioned. That's why. So I'm not sure what would they do after that. So it was like a one-time show they'll do. I was not sure what would happen next.
Okay. Okay, Alex, over to you.
Okay, it's actually very tricky. So I think first time seeing 3 responses, so happy that the options was very close. But the right answer is B. Reason why, because if you see, C is a one-time activity with limited stakeholders. And it's only like it is not focusing on many other aspects. And it is also refining the approach on what it can be done is done in B, but in C, it is just limiting it to the teacher, and it's just they went and shared it. What after that is not being captured in C, so that's why it's more to a B. Both B and C is right, but more towards a B. Yeah. And this is also a real life example. That's why it's a B. We had a fellow doing it out, and we also have evidence in the next either. So the pilot photos are in there in the next slide. I think more you have to refresh it once. I think just refresh the, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Over to you, Anjali. So this is something which happened in Nesapakam school, and this was the actual pilot that was run in one school. Then it happened in 3 schools. So this was the Seeds of Hope project. Yeah. So it's a real life case study which we brought in. So thank you. Over to Anjali.
Yeah, we've talked about this project enough. So nice to see how that has gone through the entire journey and has now scaled up quite a bit. All right, I'll hand over to Padma now to take us through one case study from the 2023 cohort. Yeah, Padma.
Yeah. So the problem statement that the fellow identified was that parents or caregivers are unaware of children's emotional needs and unable to cater to children's emotional needs, and because of that, children feel disconnected and they don't have a safe and nurturing environment at home. The pilot, so this is not like a perfect example of a pilot. I will talk about what are the aspects of the pilot that worked well and what are things that, looking back, we could have done differently. The fellow wanted the parents to experience what it feels like to spend quality time and what impact it has on both the parent and the child. So she conducted a parent engagement session, and it was just for her classroom that she conducted it, since it was a pilot, and only a small number of parents turned up. I think some 8 to 10 parents turned up. And there were stations and there were different activities that the parent and the child do together in each of the stations. Post this, the children were asked to go back to their class. With the parents, there was a reflection circle that happened on mainly around spending quality time. What are the barriers? Why do you not spend quality time? How did you feel now when you spend quality time? How do children respond when you spend quality time, and things like that. So I think it was a needs assessment and a pilot coupled together, because even though fellow had clarity on the problem statement, there was lack of clarity on what will be the solution to this. Like conducting sessions is difficult for parents because parents don't turn up much. Going into the community and doing sessions for parents is also difficult because they're all at work and have limited time availability. So the solution was something that wasn't really figured out. So it was a pilot and a needs assessment of sorts. So the session helped the fellow to walk away with confidence that parents value these inputs. When you sit and talk to parents about parenting and give them inputs on parenting, that's something that in low income backgrounds, parents don't receive such inputs. They don't have space for reflection. So providing that space for reflection, giving them inputs and ideas and these constant reminders about parenting is something helpful, is what the fellow figured out. The fellow also figured out that in-person spaces may not be the best way to do it, because only eight people turned up in a class of about 30, right? So those were, I think, some learnings that came. Yeah, like I said, it was also like needs assessment. So there was a form that parents filled. So they were able to give some rating on 1 to 5. How did I feel after spending quality time with my child? How, if there are such spaces in the future, will I be interested to be part of it? Those information was also collected. Anjali, do you want me to talk about approach and guidance, or do you want me to talk about the other case study also?
Maybe a little bit about how you worked with this fellow on this would also be helpful, I think. And then we can open up for maybe a couple of questions if there's any.
Sure. So this fellow was very active in doing community visits, home visits, engaging with parents from the beginning of fellowship. So some elements of pilot or learning that research and understanding stakeholders already happened through the year. So that was a very big plus that helped. I feel like not specific to this fellow. Overall, I feel push for action is something that I tried to do that was really needed in the pilot stage. There was a lot of going back and forth between, is this the problem statement, refining the problem statement, just sitting and doing a lot of work on Excel and laptop. From there, the push to actually take action, try and fail. I think that's one lens to hold. Another question about approach also. Earlier, we spoke about the project sustaining in the school after the fellow completes fellowship, right? And Anjali was talking about how we should have that lens early on. I found that bringing that lens during pilot holds people back. Like I think in the pilot stage, it's good if we have more freedom to be creative and to try out the ideas that we have, and we can think about sustainability aspects maybe when we are making our project plan and things like that. Yeah, so to have more the approach of let me try and fail, but let me take action is something that was required. Sometimes because we use terms like pilot, project, planning, TUC, and all of that, some of them tend to get into this hijack that I have to do something big. Helping them to break it down and try something really small. Saying that even if only 5 parents come, it's okay. Try it out. Let's just start with your class, and then maybe we can do another pilot with another class later. Those kind of inputs, I think, help.
Awesome. Thank you for bringing in that perspective, Padma. I think very different based on each fellow that comes in, right? Any questions for Padma in this particular example that she shared? Yeah, I am aware, which is why I'm also thinking maybe you should skip the next one probably, or we can skim through it and then close out here.
I'll skim through this. I feel like this is an important one. This fellow personally, we spoke about fellows' interests and that coming out in the project, right? The person who took up this project was personally very much passionate about solving caste discrimination, building that social awareness about caste discrimination. That was a problem statement that fellow had picked, saying that there is widespread practice of caste discrimination among different stakeholders in the school. It can be in any way, right? It's like teachers discriminating children based on caste, or one parent discriminating another parent and the child of that parent based on caste. So it's on multiple levels. And the pilot actually kind of failed to be a proof of concept. The fellow wanted to conduct sessions, workshops, activities through which awareness about discrimination could be built. But when we brought together a set of stakeholders to sit and talk about what sort of discrimination have they faced, and if is there, do they feel strongly about it? Is there something that they want to do about it? Would they like to come together and discuss about it? It was not on the radar for most of them. They spoke about economic challenges that they have. They spoke about some class-based discrimination that they face. But nobody, like a lot of them said, we come from villages where there is very strong caste discrimination, but in city, most people don't know our caste, right? So it was not a very felt need. The stakeholders didn't feel like, oh, this is a problem that we will also be invested in solving, which was sort of a wake-up call for the fellow also to realize that, okay, maybe this approach may not work, or this problem statement, there may not be buy-in from others, even though the fellow felt very strongly about it. The problem is definitely there, but maybe the people around were not ready to take on that problem and tackle, because there are other more pressing problems for them. So then the lens of the project changed in a way that she decided to focus on inclusive practices within the school, within classroom and among the staff, inclusive practices within the school, and kind of removed the caste lens from the project. The research that went in before, after the pilot, talking to different people who work in caste related organizations, also kind of gave the sense that it's a very long-term problem to solve and not something that can be picked up as a 1 year project. That was also a reason for changing the approach a bit. The point I wanted to make is pilot could also tell you that, okay, I want to change my approach. This is not working. I'm going to take a different direction.
Okay, it's 6:34. Is it okay if we can take 6 more minutes and then close out at 6:40 sharp? Suhail, Divya, Manasa. Okay.
Anjali, I will drop off. Sorry, I need to leave.
Okay, thank you. Yes, if there's any questions for Padma, feel free to DM her. And if there's any questions that we can also address in the next 6 minutes, you can do that. Thank you, Padma. We can go to the next slide, Mahua. One thing we'll do is also share this presentation. So some things we have not gone in detail, probably you can go through it as well. So yes, enjoy your break. We can go to the next slide. This particular fellow actually had two different managers. I managed for 1 year, and then Alex is currently managing. So the problem statement and pilot I was managing, and actual iCubed project part of it, Alex is working with them right now. Problem statement is pretty straightforward, right? And this was a real need because there were children with special needs in this particular school. Fellow had a very clear direction, very strong connect with the problem itself. I think the inclusivity sessions really sparked a wake-up call, and the fellow was very clear, right? So during that particular phase, my focus was on challenging some assumptions. Like when you get the presentation and you look at the problems that are mentioned over here, there were some assumptions that came in when the fellow was going through the problem identification phase. And it felt like, okay, they already knew the project that they wanted to work on and were trying to force fit that solution into the identification part. So challenging some of the assumptions was the biggest task, I think, at that point. And saying it's okay, problem can be the problem. You don't need to work on all aspects of it. So many interconnected parts will be there. You focus on one thing you want to address and build your solution around that. And while problem identification was great, documentation very nice. The links are included in this. You can go through the plan and the results that came in after the pilot. But to get to the pilot phase took so much time. Like something that could have happened in, say, March, again, similar to what Padma was sharing. This happened all the way in April after exams were done, So just to keep pushing and saying, great idea, amazing, you can do it, just do it. That took a lot of time. Connecting to entrepreneurship really helped because this person has ambitions of becoming an entrepreneur. So understanding fellows' motivations and making connections to that, whatever that might be, was a turning point, I think. Alex, in 1 minute, if you want to share what your approach has been, we can go to the next slide, Mahmood.
Yeah. So for example, I think from what the pilot that happened, what helped the person is also to create the prototype and also the actual implementation, right? So pilot actually helped to design and also study on what actually was needed, what was not needed, and through the pilot, the person found out that hey, the pilot is great, but can I also do a baseline to understand where the actual need is and then create a version of the prototype. So actually the pilot helped, there was a prototype that was went into the pilot phase. Then when it came back, the pilot helped to understand the problem is bigger. Can I be specific into what really will go into a specific model? And that helped. So I want to say pilot really helped this person to pay way to a bigger, to a specific one. So that's something which I want to share in this part. Yeah.
Let's pause here because I feel like the last 12 to 15 minutes has been a bit of an info dump. We'll take some time to synthesize. We did have a section on working with different types of fellows planned. Mahua, if you can show, like the 3 different fellows we talked about now, very different fellows, right? Their attributes, the way they approached anything, extremely different. I think you can go through it independently and then you can come back and maybe we can have a conversation around this, or we can pick it up in our next program huddle also for about 15 minutes. I'm sure you'll observe these types in the fellows that you're working with, maybe some more types as well. So this is something we can come back and talk about. That's it from us for today, to be honest. It was all about pilots, so I'll just summarize the whole thing. First, in fellowship context, what is a pilot in itself? I'm so sorry, this is the 3rd time she's calling me. Can one of you please summarize and close out?
Okay. Just to again summarize, I'm going to stop sharing. But yes, just to summarize, that pilots are essentially just meant to be like a tangible idea that the fellows can then implement on ground, take a lot of feedback, kind of just do the idea that they've been thinking about, and then move forward to kind of figuring out how the actual project can take place. We did have like the section on, fellow archetypes and how we can work with the different type of fellows that Oshik worked on. But that is something that probably will come up in the next session that Anjali holds. If you guys have any questions, please reach out. I will share the presentation on email as well. But yeah, I think 6:41. I don't want to keep anyone for much longer. It's also Saturday evening. But yeah, that's pretty much the end from our side. If any last minute questions, please let us know.
Actually, I think it's best we close now.
Yeah.
Maybe we can check out, close the loop. We started the day with a startup idea, right? Um, Assuming you were to start something on your own after all of this, also, what is one takeaway from today that you would like to implement in your startup? Be it cafe, be it uh, I'm not sure what Sounda said you would do, but yes, whatever startup you take. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Suhail. Definitely we'll work on building those evidences from our end. That's something that's a work in progress.
Yeah, for my startup, I'm looking for a lottery to get my land.
Sure,
This is
not to turn the pilot into a project. Okay.
Like not taking it to like 6, 7 month long pilot. So
Um, like pilot is a pilot, then my project will evolve from there.
yeah.
Awesome. Sounder?
yeah, all those attributes in pilot. I didn't share what was my startup plan and all, but having a mobile library is what I was thinking. And like Ruby said, start with low scale and with multiple approaches, and then come up with what can be an approach later. I think
Yeah.
that is one takeaway from this session.
You've already started with reading corners, so hopefully in the next 15 months we'll see a mobile library come up in the process. Who knows?
Yeah.
Divya, anything you would like to share?
I don't know. I always felt, I mean, grab the crack project will require a big land and lot of investment. But I think after seeing some of the examples today, it's really not, I mean, all that daunting to get it kickstarted, right? Yeah. So that is the one takeaway that I'm having. Not able to say anything specific, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's the mindset we are also looking to shift for our fellows, right? Take something that feels intimidating, 15 months of iCubed into something very small, doable that they can also take with them and run. And you're going to be guiding all of them. Alex, Mahua, anything from your end? Okay. Thank you all so much. It's been great, and we'll catch up with. I will catch up with you in the next 2 weeks' time. But yes, good luck. Excited to see how you guide all of your fellows with their projects and pilots. I'll
Thank
stop
you, guys.
recording here. Yeah.
Yeah.